Okay, so some really good news. Now, thank you to the person who told me this because I've been a little distracted last couple days and I have been operating on a assumption that the SoccerAid would be something that would take a lot of VPN switching and whatnot to see, but uh, it's actually going to be telecast and live streamed, sorry, on YouTube, and I posted it in the post section where you post photos in this channel, and I'm going to post it and pin it in the comments. But yeah, so you actually can watch Soccer Aid. So yay! Apparently, the first kickoff begins. It's about 6:20 p.m. Pacific time, California time, right now. So when I go to the channel link page, it says that it's about 39 hours before kickoff. So it'll be live in 39 hours at on June 15th at 10 a.m. And I don't know if they're saying 10 a.m. Pacific. I doubt it because the UK is, I believe, 8 or 9 hours ahead of California. I think it's 6 hours ahead of New York. So it's I'm assuming it's 10 a.m. local time in the UK. So yay! So take a look at that. And so far, the photos that the very awesome fans have posted in various fan pages, groups, and Facebook and social media, Louis looking really good. And of course, he wore blue on the field practicing, and then you see the traditional England white jersey with his 28, and then he arrived kind of before he changed into his athletic gear in um, a green jacket. So there's the blue green again, and if you go to the where the official channel is that's going to broadcast it, there is a link that's also pinned to its section on how to donate, but it's in subscriber only mode. So messages in the chat section, the comment section, they appear to people who've subscribed to the channel for 5 minutes or longer. So you can go. It's actually it's ITV. ITV is going to be doing a full live stream of Soccer Aid. So I'm going to subscribe, and then in about 5 minutes, I'll be able to comment with the rest of the live chatters. So I'm looking at it now, and there's quite a few people that I'm seeing. They're saying Louis, 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 Louis. So now, if you do donate, keep in mind it's Soccer Aid is a UK charity because the website is a .org .uk something. There's a UK in its domain name. So if you donate, you certainly can. You don't. I don't. There's no restrictions, at least not that I'm seeing off the top here, that you need to be a UK resident citizen to donate. I think anyone can really donate. The thing is, if you want to donate and it is tax deductible, where the receipt will be accepted, um, I think they. I could be wrong, but I believe they only issue receipts to people that are UK residents. Let me just see here. So it is part of it's to raise money for UNICEF. And okay, so you can donate in pounds sterling, and the proceeds for Soccer Aid going to UNICEF, it goes towards things like uh, vaccine supplies, and apparently 60 pounds sterling, which is approximately anywhere from 90 to 100, if not more. I think the pound sterling might almost be 2 for 1 for the American dollar. So it's anywhere from about 90 to like $120, depending on the currency exchange in US. And that helps vaccinate about 350 children, according to the website, against deadly and devastating diseases and lifelong protection. So um, definitely Louis, if this Zara thing was part of a push for Soccer Aid and to kind of get buzz around your music, dude, t- I'm totally with you. May not like the stunt. It's not a stunt, but have wanted somebody even more cooler, better, at least above the Eleanor level. But you know what? as long as Louis happy, that's all that matters. But we all know that I I love Larry Stylinson. But when it comes to Larry, Louis is my favorite. Louis enough. Okay, so it looks like there's a couple of promos with Sam in the opening reel, and there's videos of Louis if you go to TikTok. So if you, like I said, it looks like anyone could really donate. The thing is, yeah, it's good if you're a U.S. Resident, U.S. citizen. You they'll take your money, but I don't think that they'll issue a tax receipt. But then I could be wrong. Contact the organizers. So I had posted something that I saw on TikTok, and luckily, I like how TikTok you can download some of these videos, and it says who the original poster was because I it's important to give credit. Now there was a someone who put together something with Chapel Roan and how Chapel Roan. There's been some controversy with Chapel Roan where she seems to have a kind of adversarial relationship with the press, fans, and just feeling like being famous has its downside, and she talks a lot about it. And there's I think she had a real awesome performance at the was it the Grammys? I can't remember, but she clearly her song it took off. Her works took off. Um, there's a lot of buzz around her, and of course, like anything, people want to have her photo because ooh, Chapel Roan, and her music, like Pink Pony Club, is yeah, it's kind of like an anthem, right? It's kind of like I can kind of see it becoming an anthem the way that YMCA is an anthem, right? From the Village People. But Chapel Roan has made some controversial statements and done some controversial things. So one of the things that somebody had commented, and I didn't have time, unfortunately, to look into this, but there has been a few content creators that have talked about how I think Chapel Roan took a mental health break an hour before she was supposed to go on stage, and then has made some very like sharp comments about the expectations of fans and the press. Why do you need my photo? Why do people ask me for a hug? And this was in the video that was posted, which if you get really famous really quickly and then everyone's like zooming in on you and then the fans want to get to know you and then of course they're going to want your autograph and a photo because like look at Harry, um, with the kind of skyrocketing profile Chapel Roan has had. It's just kind of like the downside of fame. Now she is clearly speaking her mind, and so I'm agreeing with the person who posted the video on TikTok about like when you juxtapose what Chapel Roan has said about fame and just wanting her space and maybe being a little too brash about it. And then you contrast that with how, we've had Louis as a public figure for about 15 years, and there are countless footage that people can find of him really thanking his fans. I know that even when the band was when One Direction was still around, there was there was also Niall had said, the fans they pay my bills, and I think there was a reporter that was saying, isn't this too much because the fans were really uh, following Niall. Now it isn't that Niall and Louis have not lost their cool because yeah, there's been fans that have crossed the line, and for the most part, they've been very clear about saying that they wouldn't be anywhere without the fans. I mean, the fans and the fandom and social media really played a very big role in One Direction becoming like kind of the next Beatles. It wasn't. Yes, they had great music, but the fan and the organicness of the fans and the support of the fans just were phenomenal. Like you could not pay influencers to do this kind of job. So that said, we know Louis really cares for his fans. And then a couple of the clips, you see a fan coming up to Louis and wanting to have an autograph, and he's overcome with emotion. And he's like, "Oh, what's wrong? What's wrong?" And he's like giving him a hug. Um, as smart as Louis is, like there's just no way that even if you were just if you were just pure intellect, you would know you need these people. But because he's also somebody who, in my opinion, I don't know him, all speculation, I don't know him, but just he clearly has some emotional intelligence to have navigated the stuff he had to navigate with Simon and all the stuff I've talked about. But there's one thing you cannot fake, and it is being genuinely grateful. And they say the eyes they never lie. If you really, take away the outlier events where there's been fans that have like really harassed him at airports, but if you look at just some very good fan encounters where he's meeting them, he's performing, just people see him on the street. If you look at just, after all these years, after 15, almost 16 years, it's just the pattern, like the stable pattern, the baseline behavior of Louis Tomlinson is just this real gratitude and this like heartfelt thank you. And this is after almost like 15, 16, getting on to 20 years now, which does not take them for granted. And I would be willing to bet that even if he did the commercial success of a Harry, I think he would still be the same. He'd just be more grateful, more happy about it. Um, but long story short, the person who made this like juxtaposition video of just, yeah, the difference between fans of Chapel Roan versus fans of Louis, and how Chapel Roan seems to have like a contempt and a disdain for fans. Um, and there are fans that kind of cross the line, that are a little too invasive, that don't understand boundaries. Yes, but I think that, again, that's not the typical fan, because there's fan and there's fanatic. They sound the same, but they're not. And so you see that, um, in a lot of the verbiage that Chapelone uses, it's almost like she's assuming that anyone who asks her for a hug is a weirdo. It's just it gives off, it's like being a diva too soon kind of thing. And she talks about setting boundaries. Now, yes, you do set boundaries, especially people like the ones who harass Harry. You got to set boundaries, but there's a way to set the boundaries, especially because fame is kind of fleeting. The reason why Louis has had staying power is because he knows how to interact, um, especially in his position. But she has said things like, "I'm a random bitch, you're a random bitch." Just think about that for a second. So there's kind of like um, this kind of abrasiveness and almost this hostility, which, you know, kind of having the slant of criticizing fans in the negative, of calling them stalkers. Now, I would say if there's anybody who can be a little terse and kind of not mince words, and has that sort of social capital to say that, and it would be taken in a different way and probably understood more, would be Harry Styles, because of the level of harassment he's had and the grace he has shown for so long. Before it, he had like three stalkers at one point, which was like camping at his house, and it's just like, oh my god. But even despite all that, you don't see Harry being this obnoxious brat, or saying things that are inflammatory or inciting kind of a reaction. Um, and like, do you want to be famous, Chapel, or do you just want to make music and be a recluse? I mean, long story short, in the age of social media and parasocial relationships, eh, fans I think fans have a different reaction because of all this real time monitoring that is available through social media. And she's kind of like creating almost like what you would say is a kind of a sadomasochistic relationship with her fans. I'm talking about Chapel Roan, but I'm just saying, Chapel, you've only been famous for so long. You are talented, but as talented as you are, if you don't have the fans that are going to buy your stuff, you could go, you can become obscure very quickly. And then that is why Louis has not been obscure, because the fans carried him through. And that this is why Okay, if this Zara thing is a stunt, because no one knows for sure except the 2 people in it, um, yeah, people feel different ways. Some people are more upset about it, and, Twitter is kinda toxic, but at the end of the day, it's about the music, and it's about how Louis has treated the fans in direct interactions. You can't say he's gaslighting you because you don't have a personal relationship with him. And I get it. People have been in this fandom for a long time. I haven't been in it as long, but at the end of the day, if you really do support Louis, it really just comes down to his music. And honestly, as long as Louis is happy, I I kind of think of Larry as a secondary icing on the cake. But go watch some of the Chapel Roan being just kind of a meanie about her fans, and then maybe that's the antidote that some of the people that feel upset with the Zara, the Louisa thing. It's kind of my ship name, and somebody else recommended that ship name for Louis and Zara. But you know, sometimes you don't know what you have until you compare it to something that's nowhere near as good. And so we are very lucky. I agree with the person who posted the video about being a Louis fan. I totally agree. We are very lucky because when he does interact with fans, like at events where you can meet your fans and performances, he's pretty much a really like grateful, kind, sweet person. And I think that in the end is what really matters when it comes to the fan relation.